So, you're not sure what to bet? Don't worry, I gotcha. Welcome, football fans, grid, iron, gamblers, and every last one of you degenerates. It's Mitch here to give you my last minute best bets for week 12 of the NFL season. If that sounds good, Gronk, spike the like button. Show you love these videos. Show you want more by liking the video. It's absolutely free, bro. It's free. Come on. Do it, jabroni. And don't forget to subscribe. Unless you are a jabroni, then don't subscribe. But do what you want with your life and bet what you want this weekend, okay? But I'm going to give you some recommendations that I really like. So, let's get to it. And if you're wondering, Mitch, where can I get your bets? Like, I actually want to bet what you're betting. Well, that's Patreon. Link in the description. Also, the pinned comment in the comment section below. It's $5 a month for all of my bets. Let's begin with this. I'm going to give you a winner right off the bat. How does that sound? Sound good? Well, if it sounds good, then you should have liked the video already, okay? Here's a winner. Guaranteed. I don't often do locks on this channel, but this is as close as it can get, okay? We're going back to our half-final double result. We have a parlay. The Detroit Lions to lead at half and to win the game over Jameis Winston and the New York Giants. Parlay that with the Seattle Seahawks to lead at half and win the game against the Tennessee Titans. Now, the reason I like this bet, and I want to explain it in these terms. If you were to bet Detroit and Seattle on the money line in a parlay, the odds would be somewhere around minus 470. Somewhere around there. Minus 400, okay? But in a double result bet, the odds that came out for me were plus 113, which means you win more than the money you bet. Okay? All that has to happen is for two teams that are favored by double digits, nearly 2 touchdowns. The Lions at 12, 12.5. The Seahawks at 13 to 13.5. Get rid of the spreads. All they have to do is lead at half and win the game. So throw out your money line parlay and replace it with this. Double result, half final, Lions, Seahawks, plus money. Thank me later. Thank me later. Let's explain why I like these bets. First of all, Detroit. Detroit, I actually like the spread at like 10, 10.5. And I explained in my spread preview and my spread picks why I don't love it at 12, 12.5, because I actually think Jameis and Jackson Dart are about the same level of quarterback. I think Jameis is a better passer. I think Jackson Dart is a better athlete. And I think both bring a bravado and an aura that make players want to play for them. And I genuinely am a little afraid of Jameis Winston because Jameis just has this greatness as a backup quarterback where he can kind of cover any spread or win any game. We saw that last year in Cleveland, and we were pretty close to seeing that last week against the Packers. They very well could have won that game. So I don't really want to mess around and lay points against Jameis Winston of 12, 12.5 with the Detroit Lions, even at home. But the Lions should definitely win this game. Okay, first of all, Jameis probably should have thrown 2 or 3 picks last week. So that means he's probably going to throw 2 or 3 this week. But then when we get into the other side of the ball, which is more important, the Lions are coming off of a loss. They were embarrassed offensively against the Eagles on primetime. Detroit averages 36 points per game at home, and they're playing the defense that is the worst in the NFL in EPA against the run. The worst. They are, across the board, all stats and metrics, one of the worst run defenses you will find. Which means Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, massive game, which means early lead, sustained lead. Dan Campbell is going to put the foot on the gas, and he's going to rev it up. And I believe that Jahmyr Gibbs, Sonic, is going to be the beneficiary, which is why I like Jahmyr Gibbs over 77-ish rushing yards, depending on where you can get the prop. I like Jahmyr Gibbs to have 100 rushing yards in this game. Okay, I think he's going to have a huge day. 1-2 touchdowns. I think he's going to go crazy because he's been the feature back since Dan Campbell has started calling plays. And I think he will hit multiple explosives against the Giants. We've seen teams run over the Giants consistently. Okay? So, I believe that the Lions will be able to run the ball early, setting up big plays down the field, scoring early, getting a lead early. And then when you look at them defensively, they have a solid front. I don't think the Giants are going to be able to run the ball as well as they did against the Packers, which sustained their offense last week. I think the Lions are better equipped, especially at home, to slow down the Giant run game. I think that with their man coverage style, especially if DJ Reed returns for this game, they're going to have matchups that they can play a lot of press man. When you're talking about the best receivers on the Giants being Isaiah Hodgins, like guys that can't separate against the Packers, they could just pick apart zone coverages and find the spaces against zone. But you can't do that against man. You're relying on really accurate, precise passes by Jameis Winston. And you're also relying on receivers that are not Malik Neighbors to separate and get open. So I think this is a terrible matchup for the Giants on defense, on offense. And I could certainly see a play or two where Jameis tries to throw and thread the needle on a throw. It gets tipped in the air because of tight man-to-man coverage and intercepted. I could see that multiple times. So I think that Detroit will win at half, end the game. And then on the other side, I gave you Seattle minus 13 as a spread. I like that. I think they'll cover. I think they'll win. I think they'll win in a blowout. And the biggest reason I believe that is because they have one of the best elite defenses in football. I've gone over the teams that I think have elite defenses. The Texans, as we discussed many times before. The Broncos, okay? The Seahawks are in that bunch. And then the Eagles, which we'll get to. But those are the four teams that I think have elite defenses, stifling, dominant defenses, okay? Seattle is one of those groups, and I don't know if Tennessee is going to score 10 points. I really don't. They have no receiver talent. Ayu Manor is out. Ridley's out for the season. Their top receivers are Van Jefferson, and DK, a 4th or 5th round pick. Okonkwo's their tight end, whatever. They have a bad offensive line. Seattle is top 3 against the run in almost every metric known to man. They have 4 D tackles across their defensive line. If you look at DeMarcus Lawrence, he's about 6'6", 270. He's basically a defensive tackle who plays defensive end. Leonard Williams, right? Byron Murphy. They're really difficult to run the ball on, especially with Ernest Jones in there. There's no receiver talent. It's one of the best coordinators defensively against a rookie quarterback who's really been struggling with sacks and turnovers in Cam Ward. And yes, the only worry about this, as someone pointed out, is Jeff Simmons against the Seahawks. Offensive line, potentially without Gray Zabel. That's one concern out of every other matchup that could take place. So even if Seattle starts a little slow, I think that their defense is going to buy them time in a defensive game to eventually separate. So the Seattle scares me slightly more from like a half final perspective, but I believe that they're not going to really get slowed down. I think their defense could set them up with short fields and points. I think they could set them up like they did against Arizona with multiple touchdowns. And we know JSN is going to eat this secondary alive. This could be a Rashid Shaheed breakout game. And I just think Seattle is really going to be focused. Detroit, Seattle, very focused. Detroit coming off a very bad offensive performance. Seattle coming off a turnover fest against the Rams. So both teams want to get back on track. That's why I like this game and this parlay a lot at plus 110, plus 113, 15, somewhere in that range, depending on your odds. Half final Detroit, Seattle is the parlay. Now, if you want to get a little fancy and a little bit more bold, you could even place 2 of these bets, but you could place just one. And you could put New England in there as well. And we're going to talk about New England a little later. But the odds for New England, Detroit, and Seattle. New England, their point spread is 7.5. Their half final is about minus 130. Okay. If you were to put them in the parlay with Detroit and Seattle, it would be plus 278, which is really good odds. Okay. Now, if you were to put them in a money line together, New England, Detroit, and Seattle, it would still be minus 195. So essentially minus 200 on the money line, but plus 270 if you do half final. So the difference between the money that you get back in parlaying these, just for the difference being that the team leads at halftime, is pretty immense. It's well worth it, in my opinion, if you can find these bets at your book, okay? So New England, Detroit, Seattle, and it definitely gives me more confidence that Joe Flacco will be the quarterback for the Bengals and not Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, there's that wild card element, that pumped up energy element. Flacco might be more in tune with the offense and just in tune with pro football right now because Burrow has not played in a while. But I think he's beat up entering this game. He's not 100%. And the Patriots have been consistently leading at half in like almost every game on this 8-game win streak. If I had to guess, I think they've been leading at half in every single one of their games over the last 8 weeks. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm close to 100% sure because I've regularly been betting this on every single occasion for the Patriots. Okay, that includes games against the Bills. That includes games against the Bucs on the road. Okay, New England, they're playing on the road again at Cincinnati, but the reason I like this is because the defense of the Bengals is so bad. So I think the Patriots will be able to get just cushion because I think they're just going to move the ball down the field easy in the first half. And that's where they're really going to put up a lot of points, I think, right? So Drake May is going to come out slinging. It does help that Stevenson could be back and Kayshon Boutte could be back. That helps the offense with their playmakers. But yeah, I mean, I could see New England scoring 21, 24 points by halftime. I really do. I think Drake May is going to be slicing and dicing the worst defense in football, which ranks 32nd in points, 32nd in yards, and bottom 2 against the run and the pass. Like, this is a historically bad defense in the Cincinnati Bengals. The Patriots do typically give up a touchdown on the first drive of the game, but if for some reason they don't, then you're sitting in even prettier position. And without Jamar Chase, who I truly think is the best player on the Bengals, not Joe Burrow, that only helps the Patriots prepare on defense with Christian Gonzalez hopefully taking away T. Higgins. So Patriots, Lions, Seahawks is plus 278. If you want to be more conservative and not put the Patriots in there, Detroit and Seattle is plus 113. I will disclose, I've actually bet both of these. So Detroit and Seattle as one bet, and then Detroit, Seattle, and New England as another bet. Now, if Detroit or Seattle lose, then I lose both, but it is what it is. I'm taking the risk. I'm taking the chance because that's my belief in these bets, okay? So that's where I wanted to start you off with. Hopefully a nice winner for us. Now we're going to get bold with our next pick, and I already, Jahmyr Gibbs over 77.5 is a prop that I really like. I would include that in my last-minute best bets, okay? We're going to get bold with our next section of our last-minute best bets, and that's Dallas to win by a margin of 1 to 6 points at plus 360, okay? And we're going to couple this with another bet that I will talk about. But we've got Dallas win margin by 1 to 6 plus 360, okay? So that means essentially if you bet $100, you would win $360, 460 in return, okay? So Dallas at home against the Eagles. Dak Prescott has gone on a run of historic win streaks. I think it's 17 games in a row against the NFC East. He has defeated the NFC East, period, like at home. So I think the last time that Dak Prescott lost at home, did I just burp? At home is, excuse me for that. The last time Dak Prescott lost at home was 2017 to the NFC East, and it was the Eagles. That was the last time. So I think based on that trend alone, it's worth it. I think it's based on that trend alone. Like, honestly, I don't even know if I have to break the game down. But I've already broken it down. I picked Dallas to win this game. And I think Dallas can win this game. I think it all begins with stopping Saquon Barkley, which that's our next bet. I think that Saquon under 79.5 rushing yards is a very good bet. Earlier in the year, Dallas did a good job of stopping Saquon, and now they have much improved personnel in their front seven. Namely, the best defensive tackle against the run in football this year, Quinnen Williams, number 1 graded run defender at defensive tackle. That allows them to put on the field at any given time 3 defensive tackles in their front 4, Odighizuwa, Kenny Clark, and Quinnen Williams to stop the run. Jadeveon Clowney has been added since week 1, who is a very good run defender and has been for his entire career. And they did add Logan Wilson by trade from the Bengals, who played last week, and Overshown his return from injury. So they have 2 new linebackers. Their safeties are back, Donovan Wilson, Malik Hooker, and they have a stud defensive tackle in Quinnen Williams and a new defensive end. So their entire defensive front is better than week 1. They are, I think, quietly going from one of the most atrocious bad defenses in football a few weeks ago to actually being a mediocre unit now. And I think their strength is truly the run defense. So under 79.5 for Saquon, who has had a bad year all year. He's also going to be without Lane Johnson, and his center is beat up. So his best offensive lineman, Lane Johnson, is hurt, and the center is also not 100%, and he's taking on Odighizuwa, Kenny Clark, and Quinnen Williams. Okay, so under for Saquon. Dallas to win the game by 1-6. First of all, I think the game will be close, so that takes care of itself. Second, I think that it will be more of a defensive game. I've already said that I like the under 47.5. And because I think Dallas will be able to shut down Saquon, forcing Jalen Hurts to beat them through the air. And Jalen Hurts in the passing game of Philadelphia has been pathetic at times. Like, they only really have one-on-one downfield throws. And when you're talking about Matt Eberflus and the Cowboys, they play a ton of zone. So if anything, Hurts might have to dink and dunk his way down the field and not have those opportunities to throw just one-on-one balls to A.J. Brown. I don't think that will be the case in this game. And I think with Dallas having a better pass rush, they're going to be able to get pressure and sacks against Jalen Hurts. I think with Dallas having better linebackers, they're going to be able to cover the middle of the field. Dallas Goedert a little bit better. I think with, Revel returning for that rookie corner, that might help them in just in terms of their upside at the corner position compared to a Kaiir Elam. Okay? But I believe in Dallas's improvements defensively, first and foremost. And then second, I believe that Dallas's offense is one of the most difficult matchups for Philly. We saw that in week 1 where Dallas should have won that game. In Philly, in prime time. In a game where they were revealing their banner for their championship, right? Like, if CeeDee Lamb does not drop like 3 passes in that game, or if Miles Sanders does not fumble the ball at the 10-yard line, Dallas likely wins that game outright against the Eagles. Right? And the Eagles have gotten a lot better on defense, but they feel a lot more messy and exposed on offense. Right? In week 1, nobody really knew the Eagles were struggling on offense. It didn't really look like that against Dallas, but we didn't really truly know how bad Dallas's defense was at that time. Remember, Dallas's defense in week 2 ended up giving up 40 points to Russell Wilson. So they were already a terrible defense in week 1. It's just that we didn't know that because the Eagles offense was pure crap for the whole season, basically. I mean, they're not good. They're a below average offense despite all the talent because Hurts is not playing well. The offensive line is not opening up holes. They're not running the ball the same, and their wide receivers are frustrated and fed up, and the play calling is bad and predictable. So I think the Dallas defense will live up to it. I think Jerry is going to love this, have a smile and smirk on his face the entire time. And I think that Dak with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens and Ferguson and Javonte Williams, I think they'll have balance running the football. I think that Dak is one of those quarterbacks that against a 4-man rush regularly, he's going to pick his spots and throw the ball. And he's got 2 receivers who can win one-on-one when they need him to. I think that, and in Dallas is that much better on offense. Like they're really hard to stop. And then you're talking about Aubrey who can kick the ball from the other side of the logo. So like even if they get a first down off the kickoff, they could kick a field goal. So I think that Dallas is a really good bet here to win a close game. Dak is historically good against his own division at home. Dallas's offense is really good at home. Dallas's offense is a really tough matchup for the Eagles and probably one of the toughest they'll face all year in terms of balance, quarterback, and receiving core. even if Philly has a really good defense. And then Philly's offense is broken, and they're taking on a Dallas defense that is a little bit unknown and I think very much improved. So I like Dallas by 1-6 at the odds of plus 360. Okay, and we're going to couple that by throwing in Saquon under 79.5, but also Philly under 24.5 points is minus 105. If you don't want to lay the complete total, like for some reason, if you would rather do a team total, I think that Philly under 24.5, or if you don't want to play the game from a spread or result perspective, I think Philly's most likely victory in this game is in a lower scoring game. So even if you take Philly under 24.5, it's minus 105. I think Philly could win 24-20. So you, instead of taking Dallas plus 3 or 3.5, Philly could probably win because their strength of their team is defense. And if Philly does win this game, right? Like Arizona beat Dallas 27-17. If Philly does win this game and they do cover this game, they could still go over 24.5. I mean, how many times do we really feel like with this current version of their offense, Philly is going to score 30 points on the road? Like, I just don't know. I mean, so I think 24.5 under, regardless of the result, Philly win, Philly loss, is a pretty good look in this game at minus 105. Some other team totals that I think are interesting is the Raiders under 17.5 points at plus 120. I think that's kind of ridiculous because honestly, the Raiders could win this game 17-10 and this would still hit. And this is plus money. They're playing the Browns, who are a dominant defense. I know that they're not in Cleveland and it's in Vegas in a dome, but we just watched the Raiders offense play against Dallas, and Dallas completely humiliated them for most of that game. And the Browns are much better. I mean, Myles Garrett is looking for 25 sacks on the season this year. I mean, the guy is looking to set a new record for sacks. That's how good he has been. That's how good this defensive front has been. They're number one in run stop win rate and pass rush win rate. They have Denzel Ward, who can lock down just about any receiver. Their linebackers are fast and awesome and rangy, and they don't allow anyone to run the ball. They're first in success rate against the run. So Ashton Genty with no offensive line, Geno Smith with no offensive line. How do they throw? How do they run the ball? Right? The only reason people like the Raiders here is because of Shedeur Sanders and how bad he is. Let's just take him out of the game. 17.5 under for the Raiders, plus 120. The Chiefs and the Colts. I think that if the Chiefs score over 24 points, they're probably going to win this game. That's probably my guess. So I wanted to throw a team total of under 24.5 at plus 120. I kind of lean the under in this game. And it's because I don't know if I trust Daniel Jones in the cold at Arrowhead, where Kansas City's defense is much better this year. Steve Spagnuolo with the crowd noise, with his blitz packages, understanding he has to take away Jonathan Taylor. I think the Chiefs are going to play a grimy, gritty, slow game where they matriculate the ball downfield. The Colts don't allow a lot of big plays. Patrick Mahomes is not a big play quarterback right now. He is very bad at throwing the deep ball. And the Colts have excellent corners. Charvarius Ward is back. Kenny Moore is one of the best nickels in football, and Sauce Gardner has now had a full bye week to get installed into this defense. Latu's a good edge rusher. Franklin is a good linebacker. They have really good safeties. And Lou Anarumo is a coach that has consistently given Patrick Mahomes problems in big games, in big spots throughout his career with the Bengals. 24.5 is a lot of points for a Chiefs offense that has been not great. They were not great against the Broncos. Patrick Mahomes has not been playing great, and they're completely one-dimensional. They have no run game at all. And so Lou's coming off a bye with extra time to prepare for this offense. So I think that's an interesting look at just betting on Lou Anarumo, betting on these corners, betting on them playing feisty, and holding the Chiefs in the red zone, which is another reason I might look at Harrison Butker over 1.5 field goals at minus 105, minus 110. He's hit 2 field goals in the last 2 games against Denver and Buffalo, 2 defenses that know Kansas City well and specifically can stop them in big plays and in big situations like third down. And from my recollection, Lou Anarumo's done a great job of that with Cincinnati, of holding the Chiefs in the red zone and holding the Chiefs on third down. And I think that because of his ability to coach on those downs and because of the corners' abilities to hold up in man-to-man coverage, I think the Chiefs will fail on a couple third downs in field goal range, which will lead to the Chiefs kicking a couple field goals in this game. Even if it's only 2, over 1.5 is close to even money. So I like Butker, third game in a row, to go over 1.5. And then our final team total is going to be Green Bay under 24.5 points. This is minus 135. The game total is 41, so maybe you just like the game total. But I am just going to fade Green Bay's offense. I think right now it is very overrated. I think Jordan Love is very overrated. I think the offensive line is very overrated. Their run game is not very good. And their receiving core, really the only guy that I would be scared of is Christian Watson. And I've been saying it over and over and over again. He is the guy that they should be targeting like 8-9 times, and he only gets about 4 or 5 targets, and 2 of them are usually touchdowns. So I don't really understand their process, but Romeo Doubs is not very good. Wicks is not very good. Anyone that they target is not very good. Luke Musgrave sucks. Like, Tucker Kraft is out. Jaden Reed is out. They don't have Josh Jacobs. The offensive line has not been as good as last year. They're giving up pressure. They're not running the ball well. And they're taking on Brian Flores. Brian Flores, who knows this offense well, has faced it many times. And I think the Vikings have been much better against the run lately. I think that they can blitz and get to Love consistently. And I feel like if Rodgers is matched up with Watson, there's no one else that I really feel like I'm scared of if I'm the Vikings. And the biggest weakness for the Vikings is their secondary. It is their secondary. And they have problems against teams with multiple great receivers. But the Packers do not offer that. They do not have that. So I think this is going to be a grimy game. I think it's going to be a defensive game. I think the Vikings are going to try to run the football more, which is also going to keep the Packers under. And we see the Packers continuously go for it on fourth down when they shouldn't. And they continuously pass up points. So that also helps unders, in my opinion, because Green Bay has not been very good on fourth down. So minus 135, under 24.5 for the Packers, fading an overrated Packer offense. And the way I want to finish is by talking about the Patriots and the 49ers, specifically 2 teams that I love to bet, but 2 teams that I think are great bets this week. We're going to talk about that in a second. But first, I do want to say this. Baker Mayfield on Sunday Night Football, plus 100, over 1.5. Sunday Night Football, I like the over between the Bucs and the Rams. I think both offenses will move the football and score, especially the Rams. But I think that Baker Mayfield to score 2 touchdowns in a game where he could be chasing the scoreboard against Stafford is a really good bet at plus 100. I just want to throw that out there. It's hard to run the ball against the Rams. They still don't have Bucky Irving. Chris Godwin is back. I think Baker will throw 2 touchdowns in this game. So plus 100 if you want to just put a little bit of money on that on Sunday night instead of playing the spread, the total, the win, whatever. I'll take Baker. Just throw a little prop in there, over 1.5 to have a big performance as an underdog on Sunday Night Football. That's always a good look, okay? But finishing off with the New England Patriots and the San Francisco 49ers. First, the way that I would play these 2 is by putting them in a teaser. So San Francisco is currently favored by 7 or 7.5. You could take them down to a 6-point teaser, would take them down to 1 or 1.5 to win the game by 2 points. The Patriots are sitting at 7, 7.5. Same sort of deal. I think more likely 7.5. The Patriots, you could take them down to 1.5 to win by 2. So both teams would have to win by 2. You're not worried about halftime. You're not worried about any other result, just them winning by 2 or more, okay? I'm very confident the Patriots will beat the Bengals. I made them a best bet at -6, -7. I think they are a best bet on the spread, but I also think that they're an even better best bet on a teaser. Now, that being said, if you can get a teaser where the odds are like 183 or like 180, somewhere in that range, and not like 170, those odds suck. So if you're at a book where it's like 170 for a 2-team teaser, but it's like 260 or something like that for a 3-team teaser, then add in another team. Okay, so another team that you might like is the Colts plus like 9.5, or the Steelers plus like 8.5, or who's another team? Dallas. I think Dallas would be a great one, plus 9.5, because I've talked about how I think Dallas could win. So yeah, Dallas, New England, and San Fran. That's a really nice teaser. Okay, so It depends on what your odds are, but San Fran, New England is a teaser. You could do New England, San Fran money line, but I don't know what the odds are there. Another way you could do it, though, is for points. I think both these teams are going to score a ton of points. Okay, I think both will score 30 will be my proclamation. I think Drake May and Brock Purdy both throw 2 touchdowns. So my quarterback touchdown parlay this week is going to be Drake May over 1.5 touchdowns, Brock Purdy over 1.5 touchdowns. That pays at plus 130, okay? I've already bet this. So Drake May, 2 touchdowns against the Bengals, the worst defense in football against the pass. Brock Purdy over 1.5, one of the bottom 5 defenses against the pass, the Carolina Panthers, but sneaky good run defense. Brock Purdy and the 49ers are going to be in a lot of shootouts, and Drake May is looking for that MVP. I think previous to last week, he was on a tear of like 2 touchdowns. I think it was like 5 or 6 games in a row where he threw 2 touchdowns. Brock Purdy threw multiple touchdowns last week when he came back against the Cardinals. They scored 40 points against the Cardinals last week. Drake May, this could be his first time throwing 300 yards in the NFL. It's worth shouting that it's plus 195 for Drake May to throw 300 yards against the worst defense in the league. Just going to throw that out there. That's pretty good odds for arguably the best quarterback in the league to throw 300 yards at plus 195. I like the Patriots team total at over 29.5, minus 120. I think they will score 30 to 38 points in this game. And I do think the 49ers will win against the Panthers. I have another win margin bet. Instead of 1-6, I like 1-13 at plus 105. So a slightly plus money, pretty close to even money for the Niners to win. So instead of playing the Niners money line or playing the Niners in a teaser, or instead of playing the Niners on the spread, 7.5, 7, take them by a win margin of 1-13 at plus 105 if you can find it. So basically, what I'm saying with this bet is, I think the Panthers will be close enough because the Niners defense is not very good. They can't generate a pass rush. They probably will get scored on. And I think the Panthers they're a good enough team to keep this somewhat competitive, but I am pretty confident that the Niners will win because I think that they're going to get a strong start on offense. They have so much multi-dimensionality with Kyle Shanahan. They're at home on primetime. The spark from the fan base. I think the Niners have a very scary offense right now. Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle against the Panthers' middle of the field defense is a very big concern for the Panthers. The Panthers have one of the worst pass rushes in the league. So you might get unlucky and the Niners might win by 14, but I think it's worth it to see a game of like 31-20 for the 49ers. And then you end up winning this bet. You could lay the spread, but again, there's always the possibility of a 7.5 backdoor where Bryce Young gets a garbage touchdown against a bad defense and you're kicking yourself that you should have bet the win margin. Just going to throw that out there. So to just go over that Niners-Patriots section, a teaser would be a good look, a 6-point teaser. Drake May and Brock Purdy both to throw 2+ touchdowns at 131, plus 131. Drake May, 300 yards, plus 195. New England Patriots to score 30 points, essentially, is minus 120 against the worst defense in the league. And the 49ers win margin, 1-13, plus 105. So those are your bets, your last-minute best bets for week number 12. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about anything, let me know in the comments. And, of course, on Patreon, you can get all of the bets that I'm actually making. Some of these I've already suggested that I may or may not have been betting it. Some of these I'm still considering that I might bet. Some of them I won't bet, but I'm just kind of like telling you these are kind of cool odds because I know a lot of people like to look at stuff. So Patreon is the place where you can actually find, oh, what did he actually bet? Did he actually bet the Patriots -6, or did he bet the Patriots halftime final, or did he bet the Patriots over, or what did he do? So that's where Patreon comes in handy. So, and you can also support me and the channel and the journey as a creator, and it does help. But Gronk spike the like button, subscribe, guys. It's Mitch. Good luck on your bets. Let's make some money, and we'll see you next week. Peace.